Good evening. This is Maestro Cortello with a Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Tonight we have a high-level 2v2 on Desert Shodown. First, we have HolyHammer as this Warp Spider Exarch, this teleporting hero, harassment hero. Mostly fights range, but can also be upgraded to get some pretty good ranged weapons. I mean, some pretty good melee weapons. And also has some pretty crazy late-game tricks up his sleeve. We also have Wurglicious, or Wurgl, as this infiltrating Lictor Alpha, a melee hero, very powerful, also very stealthy. We also have, on the red team, we have Asmoninator, or just Asmon, getting a special attack right there with this Eldar Warlock. An offensive hero, can either be upgraded to have lots of offensive, damaging spells, or to be a tanky melee hero. Finally, we have GuruSkippy as another teleporting ranged hero. Good at harassing, also has some interesting late-game tricks, and just this little orc with a screw in his mouth, nice hat, and a little shooter. Force mailing on the Termagants right here. Anyway, so this seems to be a winning engagement for the orcs, with the Mekboy forcing melee, getting a lot of model losses on those Termagants, down to 3 models now, with Sluggers chasing. Sluggers do need to get out of there pretty soon, though, but 6 models in total die from that Termagant squad. Termagants, no Toxin Sacks, and GuruSkippy winning definitely quite a bit, and kind of pushing right up into Wurgl's base. And I've kind of recently found out that these Tyranid Hive Node defense turrets kind of suck. And Wurgl's even complaining, like, what is this turret placement? Because he basically has no defense. Those turrets were literally not doing anything, those hive nodes, as they're called. So GuruSkippy was just kind of fighting right up there. So most of the fighting right now is going on between GuruSkippy and Wurgl. Asmon's over here, and he only has 1 Dire Avenger squad. I don't know if that means that he lost another unit, or if he only has that 1 Dire Avenger squad. I actually did not see. He's floating a bit of requisition, about 370. Now he does get those Banshees. Maybe he spent his requisition on generators. But as it is, the red team is decapping and then capping one of blue team's power nodes, this middle one. Blue team does have a full farm on their natural, on their side natural. And it looks like the Tyranids are finally forcing the orcs out. GuruSkippy with a very heavy build already. Double shooters, both with big shooters and double sluggers, and getting a knob on one of those sluggers as a detector for that Lictor Alpha. Meanwhile, Wurgl already lost his Hormagaunts, his starting Hormagaunt squad, and these Howling Banshees going to run up right into that Warlock. Definitely going to force it off. Alright, so HolyHammer is trying to use his Warp Spider Exarch to do some damage to this power node, but I don't think that's a great use of the Warp Spider Exarch. His damage is definitely not that great. It'll be decent enough to bleed models off of the Dire Avengers as well as the Howling Banshees, and keeping that Warp Spider Exarch in cover will allow him to take minimal damage from the Dire Avengers. And then he can always use his teleport to just teleport away from Banshees, but right now he does not have enough energy for his teleport, so he needs to just straight up retreat out of there. And it's definitely better to have the Howling Banshees bash the power node, because they will take it out a lot more quickly, and it's better to give that experience to your Howling Banshees. These Howling Banshees, though, with the aspect of strength, do need to run out of there, though, because they're getting caught by another squad of Howling Banshees, which has full health. And one of the things you want to do with your Howling Banshees, one of the things I read a long time ago, since they're a fairly squishy melee unit, as powerful as they are, you need to be a little bit more crafty about how you use them. You need to not just generally try to avoid just running straight up into a unit and expect that to work with your Howling Banshees. You want to try to pick your engagements, as well as find ways to deliver your Howling Banshees to your opponent without them taking damage. You can do that by tying them up with another unit, such as the Warlock or the Warp Spider Exarch. You can do that by flanking, by using them in conjunction with a suppression team, using the knockback on these Rangers with their kinetic shot. So you do have Rangers out now from HolyHammer. Definitely going to bleed some models. Pretty good choice against Eldar, and sometimes Eldar mirrors can often involve a lot of sniper play, since Eldar squads are especially, I'd say more than just about any other race, are a race that have squishy squads that really do not want to lose models. I mean, Guardsmen and the Imperial Guard and Tyranids certainly have squishy squads, but you can afford to lose models in those squads than Eldar squads can. Raveners right here, jumping in, disrupting all these orcs. GuruSkippy blobbing up a bit, and that's why he's kind of getting most of his units disrupted by just one Ravener squad. And Wurgl actually has 2 Ravener squads, so especially if GuruSkippy's going to blob his units up that much, he's definitely going to get countered a bit by Wurgl with these double Raveners. Asmon pushing up quite a bit into HolyHammer's base, though. HolyHammer with that Ranger squad, but it's in the middle, and the Shuriken weapon team coming around up here, going to set up. But Asmon does complete the decap on the natural power node for the blue team. That's going to stall out the blue team's economy for a bit, although they will get the power node back eventually. Howling Banshees do force off that Warlock. They get a special attack on him, but he retreats soon enough so that he doesn't get wiped. And HolyHammer using the teleport on that Spider Exarch to quickly and immediately get back to this victory point so he can recap it and just kind of keep the map control in his favor. The Spider Exarch is just so great for map control, which is especially good in 1 versus 1, but can certainly still be relevant in 2 versus 2. Wow. So Asmon kind of drew the fire of the heavy weapon teams with his Warlock. I mean, he actually drew the fire with his Howling Banshees, and then was able to run his Warlock in with Fleet of Foot. And then the Howling Banshees went in as well once the Warlock had tied up the Guardian weapon team. So that's just one way you can deal with setup teams. Basically drawing fire with one squad and then having another one go in another direction. It's kind of more of a Company of Heroes style play, since in Company of Heroes you don't have Assault Space Marines. There are no jetpacks in World War II that can jump on suppression teams. So you can use that same strategy in this game. It's just kind of less commonly seen because you can always just buy a jump unit. But Eldar don't really have jump units in Tier 1. The only real exception is the Spider Exarch, but it was Asmon who made that play, and the Warlock cannot jump around. I mean, he has that leap, but that's not going to save him from suppression. Termagants right here, kind of really walking in all the way on the side of this lane. I think might have to retreat now, getting chased down by these double sluggers. Gonna just start bleeding model losses. They could maybe do some crippling poison, but we don't see that. I see what he was waiting for. He was waiting for the Raveners to jump in there, get that disruption, then have the Termagants turn around and focus down all those Slugger boys. Ultimately a winning engagement for Wurgl, so his choices were better than the ones that I was saying. Does win that engagement, gains the field presence, and now we'll get a slight gen bash from these Termagants, but they won't do much. Now with this Looter Boy squad setting up. Oh, but the Termagants are actually right outside range, so they will take out that generator probably at least. Double Raveners, again, forcing off double Shooters. So that a double Ravener build, you know, in comparison to Asmon trying to use some Company of Heroes tricks to get around suppression teams or range blobs, Wurgl's just kind of going full Dawn of War 2 mode with double jump squads, or in this case, double burrowing squads. Asmon, with his extremely light Tier 1, though, does get out a very early Wraith Lord. Neither player on the blue team are in Tier 2 yet, so they literally can't do anything yet. Right now, Asmon, he's rushed Tier 2, so he's kind of in a critical period where this Wraith Lord is currently uncountered, and it will still be uncountered for maybe another 2 minutes, maybe even longer, depending on how the blue team plays things. HolyHammer, his best choice immediately, or the quickest thing he could get, would be a Bright Lance weapon on this Guardian weapon team, which he is in fact getting. He is upgrading to that Bright Lance. Red team now going to get a Gen Bash over here, probably going to take out several generators. Already the power node down, and Asmon's Howling Banshees are decapping, so Asmon's Howling Banshees upgraded with that aspect of fleetness, giving that Exarch the dual power swords, which does power melee instead of heavy melee, and also allowing the Howling Banshees to jump over cover, which has been turning out to be a really good ability. And this Warlock in a little bit of trouble right now, has Champion's Robe, going to make him a lot tankier, but he was just in against way too many enemy Eldar. And wow, we have a full power bash by the red team, and even a cap on this power node. So blue team has not really been able to keep 2 power farms up. They've only been able to keep this side one in HolyHammer's lane. And then red has definitely kept this power farm as well as this one. So red's definitely going to have the tech advantage right here.
And Asmon's kind of been taking advantage of that by rushing to Tier 2, while GuruSkippy has kind of been taking advantage of that by getting a huge Tier 1 army and then rushing to Tier 3. Autarch call in from Asmon. So that Autarch, this Eldar sub-commander, very fast, has the highest speed for any infantry unit in the game. I believe the speed is 8. And so that's going to make her really good for map control. She's also... It also allows her to just get in against enemy units really quickly to tie them up, so she hard counters a lot of range squads, and she actually is a jump unit by herself. This Venom Brood in a ton of trouble. That is going to be one of the counters to that Wraith Lord, but it definitely got in a lot of trouble from those Howling Banshees. And GuruSkippy is saying something in the chat, maybe in a little bit of French, but I understood the part where it said spam looted tank. So he's getting his first looted tank. It's not spam yet, but he has one so far. Howling Banshees right here. These are the aspect of strength Howling Banshees from HolyHammer. Get a Executioner Spear, basically the same as the aspect of the Banshee in retail. Makes them slightly better as AV than the aspect of Fleetness Howling Banshees, but they're still a light AV counter. So this is blue team still out on the field. I did say they kind of have the map presence advantage right now, but we have GuruSkippy's forces coming in. GuruSkippy, his AV is mostly in the form of this looted tank. Does not have any other AV. His Ludas are just kind of set up. Their guns are hidden with the hide the guns ability, and they're still in their suppression form, the Def Con. And now the blue team is getting a power bash off on the red team middle power farm, and they will get off that full bash, I think. Actually, HolyHammer's running away. He definitely has enough time to just take out that power farm, but I think he's worried about the fact that he's getting counter bashed by this Autarch, now upgraded to the Executioner Spear. So that Executioner Spear on the Autarch is different from the Banshee Executioner Spear, only does power melee damage, but still extremely good. Gonna make her very good for bleeding models off of units, and that Autarch in a lot of trouble right now. Almost got wiped, and then I think that's actually a bad call by Asmon to throw his enemy's Howling Banshees right into the retreat path of his Autarch. Luckily, they were still knocked down. Close call. So HolyHammer, I think HolyHammer lost his Ranger squad. I did not see it, but he is rocking this Falcon grab tank. Something's going off here. I don't know what. I think that's going to be a Warp Spider call-in, yes, from HolyHammer. So that's a global ability that is unique to the Warp Spider Exarch. Allows him to call a Warp Spider squad right at a location and for a cheaper price. Costs 200 red, but only 350 requisition and no power. Although you do have to spend the power to get that Warp Spider Exarch as well as the Haywire grenades. And this Wraith Lord is kind of threatened a bit by the cannon or the AV, the light AV on this Falcon, but still not quite enough. Most of HolyHammer's AV is fairly light, aside from this Guardian weapon team with the Bright Lance. But now we are going to have a Haywire grenade, and that is a dead Wraith Lord for Asmoninator. All right, GuruSkippy now coming around with his Orkiwa looted tank with the reinforced plating. Going to be pretty tough. So the looted tank is kind of more of an anti-infantry tank than most of the other tanks, mainly because of that big shot ability that has a very nice area of effect and can be used to disrupt large infantry blobs. Can still certainly function as AV as well, and will definitely beat a Falcon. And we have a big fight going down right here. Howling Banshees and the Autarch fighting against Termagants. It's definitely going to be a winning battle for the Eldar, the red Eldar right there. But some of the Eldar is up here pushing into GuruSkippy's forces, but that tank is kind of staying in the back. Definitely kind of helping to win that engagement. This Guardian weapon team in a ton of trouble. Might get wiped, to be honest, and it definitely will get wiped. Just one more poke from that Autarch right there. A little more of a poke. Quite a slash from that big Executioner Spear. Look at how big that weapon is. So that Autarch with her Executioner Spear also has a helmet, and she's so fast. She won't do significant damage to the Falcon, though, and now she's in a ton of trouble. Might go down, and I think that's another close call from Asmon. Having some really close calls with that Autarch, and the Autarch, you really don't want to lose the Autarch. She's a good unit, and I mean, it's certainly kind of costly to lose her, especially if you've invested in her with the Executioner Spear. I don't know if he has the energy bubble, but that's also a very good upgrade for her. Makes her very tanky. She's certainly not quite as good as a tanky unit, as a tanky single entity unit. She's not as good as most of the tanky melee heroes, but she's still very good. She's going to be very tough if she has that energy shield. As it is, Asmon, I think he must have sky leaped his autark because it's gone now, and I thought he just retreated it away in time. So I'm guessing he just had it sky leap so he can use it. So he can use the grenades right now in this retreat path. And not the greatest, but yeah, he definitely sky leaped because he still has the executioner spear on this autark. And this grab tank is really good. And we have another power bash. Wow, full power bash from Wurgl. So blue team was struggling on the power for a long time, and they are stuck in tier 2 right now. They can go to tier 3. But the red team definitely had a tech advantage by virtue of the fact that they had 2 power farms while they kept on bashing the blue team's power farms. And now we have that looted tank spam from GuruSkippy. GuruSkippy also sitting on enough red to drop a Rox. So we'll see if he drops a Rox. Rox is such a great nuke. And we have these warp spiders right here. I think they're doing very well. They will be very good at focusing that Warlock, as well as bleeding models off of Asmon's Dire Avengers, also focusing the autark over here. We have no warp spiders from Asmon though. So we have these double looted tanks, and I think part of the reason he went double sluggers was not just for the sluggers themselves, but so that he could have the repair support for these looted tanks. So this looted tank spam strategy, as he even called it, I mean, it's not the most fascinating strategy, but it certainly is a bit different from what you generally expect from orcs, which is you expect them to go for knobs. At least one knob squad, if not knob spam instead of tank spam. But Wurgl is actually saying that this oh, a little bit of lag from my computer. That this double looted tank play from GuruSkippy is actually very tough for him. You know, I can only imagine that has to do with the fact that his only AV is this Venom Brood right now. That Venom Brood is not that powerful, and it doesn't snare, so the looted tanks can pretty easily drive out of there. A lot of fighting, a lot of range fire going down right here. I think Howling Banshees from HolyHammer got in trouble, so they jumped into the Falcon, kind of giving them some cover. And this Falcon, I think, still does not have its energy shield, especially since HolyHammer is in tier 2 and cannot get the energy shield yet. Zoanthrope from Wurgl, I think, maybe in a little bit of trouble right now. One looted tank almost dead, and that that haywire grenade finishes it off. So GuruSkippy's looted tank spam is already gone because he now only has 1. It's not spam if you only have 1. And that Zoanthrope, I felt that Zoanthrope was up forward a little too much. And this Falcon needs to be careful taking shots from that Weird Boy, but GuruSkippy himself needs to be careful with that Weird Boy, taking hits from that Spider Exarch, who is still running around vanilla. I've noticed that HolyHammer kind of likes to do this, basically keeping his Spider Exarch as vanilla until, I guess maybe usually until tier 3, until he gets to get those really game-changing tier 3 assets instead of the much smaller or much more subtle changes that come from getting things like improved targeters or heavy gauge death spinner or entangling web, etc. Probably waiting to get Shimmer Orb or Phase Shift. Another Gen Bash going down here from Wurgl's Termagant Broods. His Lictor Alpha, though, all the way up here, probably forgot about him and lost him. The Mekboy has Mega Rumbla and Custom Force Field. He already said in the chat that he wants to do a Mega Rumbla combined with Rox, which can certainly be very good. Haven't seen it yet. And there are certainly enough big blobbed armies that can be very effective. He would probably lose the mech in the process, and he cannot pull that off just yet because the Mekboy is forced off. The Mekboy might even go down, but probably not. At 79 health, and he's not getting shot. A Warp Vomit goes off, but now this Weird Boy getting, up forward way too much. The Weird Boy has a good ranged attack. It's basically a plasma cannon, and a plasma cannon that does not need to set up, meaning it does full damage to regular infantry, bonus damage to heavy infantry, and even does good damage against vehicles. But that Weird Boy is not good in melee at all. He does have a good melee counter with Warp Vomit, which we saw right there on that whole blob, and it's not just good as a melee counter, it's good in general, just to disrupt a blob. but he is not good in melee himself. He actually does very little damage in melee, and that's definitely a way that you can kill the Weird Boy. If you get in melee with him when Warp Vomit is on cooldown. We now have the D-Cannon from Asmon, an artillery setup team that you can only get in Tier 3 with Eldar, and it's very good for denying caps as well as taking out and disrupting squishy units like Dire Avengers or Banshees with the Singularity ability. And I'm surprised to not see the Singularity ability. Maybe we'll have it now, since now would be a pretty good time. No, not anymore. With that Singularity ability, basically an area of effect ability on the D-Cannon that sucks units into like a black hole or something and does a ton of damage. I think we're going to see a Singularity now, but it's not going to be a great Singularity. Probably not going to pull anything in fact. Yeah, nothing gets sucked in by that Singularity. Wurgl does see it, and he just kind of micros out of there in time. And now we have big armies on both sides. Oh, Mega Rumbla going off along with Overdare, and now we have that Rocks. Takes out, I think, almost takes out the Venom Brood. Is going to take it out? Oh, so ultimately takes out nothing. Oh, this Venom Brood almost dead. There's Autarch chasing it down. Will it go down? Yes, it does. Wow, Venom Brood. Very nice play from Asmon to follow up. Follow up with that Autarch, with that Fusion Gun Autarch to finish off that Venom Brood. So that was a trick that GuruSkippy did. He did the Mega Rumbla, which stuns infantry units. He also combined it with Overdare to throw the Mekboy into the blob, and then he used the Rocks while the blob was right there. And it wasn't the greatest use, it wasn't the greatest example of it because there weren't actually that many units there, but he still got a squad wipe out of it, and a pretty good squad wipe on the Venom Brood, since the Venom Brood is one of the AV sources for the blue team, one of the few AV sources. Blue kind of lacking for AV. So you do get that. This Falcon now does have that energy shield, making it extremely tough. Does decrease the Falcon speed, but also still just makes the Falcon very tough. People actually say, like, once the Falcon has an energy shield, you basically can't kill it. And of course, that's a slight exaggeration. It's actually kind of more of a metagame argument. Basically, just that players who are paying attention and microing will generally not lose the Falcon once it has an energy shield, just because it's so tough. That looted tank got haywired and then was taking shots from this Bright Lance at very long range. A Tyranno formation went off. Big losses for Wurgl in all of that, and definitely some for GuruSkippy as well, who now has Commandos. These Commandos are still fighting in here. Commandos have actually been buffed in the Elite mod. They have had their range buffed, so they actually have as much range as any other ranged unit. But man, Wurgl taking so many losses, probably going to lose this Ravener Brood, which even has the Devourer upgrade, making it into a good ranged unit as well as a melee disruption unit. But now I think this is actually a little too much range fire for Asmon to deal with the Warp Spiders right here. Oh, but the Warp Spiders should try not to get disrupted by the Weird Boy. They should teleport just like that. Luckily, Warp Spiders still have their full 5 models, but they are getting hit by the Warlock, and they will need to get out of there. Take one model loss. Maybe we'll take another one. Now the Zoanthrope is in trouble with the Warlock right there. Going to start attacking it. And the Zoanthrope does not even have its energy shield up. Zoanthrope is going to go down if it does not retreat now, especially now that it's getting knockbacked. Oh, and I missed an Eldritch Storm over here, but I think it actually didn't even do much. Oh, I'm wrong. It must have done a ton. Because Asmon's now down to 2 units. The blue team is down to 37 victory points. And I think this Warlock is in a little bit of trouble right now. He's really going hard for that. Oh, he really tried hard to get that Zoanthrope. One more hit would have done it, but he was walking right into HolyHammer's base. And then Asmon even lost his Warlock. So big losses for Asmon. That could be what the blue team needs to turn this game around. Right now, blue team has the superior army. HolyHammer having 5 units, Wurgl having 3, but one of them is this new Carnifex, Thornback Carnifex even. So Thornback kind of emphasizes the melee aspect of the Carnifex, as well as just the fact of it being a tough, big walker unit. gives it an extra 525 health. That's a huge upgrade. 525 health. Also gives it a charge ability, as well as Pheromone Cysts, which give it the ability to spawn Rippers, which are very good for tying up crucial units. Mekboy right here has that custom force field, which allows him to repel melee attacks and makes him resistant to ranged attacks. Now we have this Lictor Alpha, only upgraded to the deadly jump ability, using that to jump on and disrupt all these units right here. Double shooters, not double shooters, yeah, double shooters in fact, as well as that Weird Boy and Commandos. And this Falcon is still alive, so what I was kind of saying is kind of proving itself to be true, which is just that the Falcon is just definitely has a lot of staying power once you have that energy shield, because it just has a lot of health. It's slightly fast. It is a little bit slower once it gets that energy shield upgrade, but still very good. And it's actually kind of bleeding these Howling Banshees. Warp Spider's going to bleed those Howling Banshees even more, and definitely going to bleed these Dire Ventures that are trying to cap. They will not get that cap off, or they will take way too many losses. And Carnifex starts to charge in, gets a sync kill off on an Orc, on a Shooter Boy, but now getting chased down by Knobs, cannot stay in there, and he just used the charge. Oh, but GuruSkippy actually retreats his Knobs. They're upgrading to Meaner and Greener right now. They actually, Knobs are certainly very counterable, and certainly, oh, another Rocks, that completely misses everything. But Knobs are certainly very counterable when they're just in their default form. It's when they get several upgrades that they become so tough to deal with. And those upgrades, it certainly does make the Knob Squad very expensive. Over there, used to keep the pressure on with those Knobs. And Wurgl, oh, but the charge, wow, and the charge actually wiped that generator, but the charge also ran him into those stairs, and he kind of stopped on that banister of the stairs. And HolyHammer definitely just winning over Asmon right now in this lane. Asmon just does not have enough units to deal with HolyHammer. And especially HolyHammer with that Falcon. Level 3 already, a level 3 Falcon. Just reinforcing Banshees and Warp Spiders, just keeping that field presence, that Eldar field presence. And this Weird Boy is going to go down easily. Yeah, so there, GuruSkippy definitely overextended. Right now, Red Team certainly started out with the lead, but right now it's looking like it's going to go in favor of the blue team. HolyHammer still with no upgrades on his level 6 Warp Spider Exarch. Fully upgraded Warlock, but Asmon's kind of been struggling a bit, especially since that time when he lost most of his units. And now this Thornback Carnifex is definitely in a lot of trouble. And I'm actually not even sure. Well, I guess he did not want to. GuruSkippy did not want to risk getting his Knobs wiped when he wasn't even sure if he would have taken out the Carnifex. He may have, but Wurgl charging in there, trying to get those red units off the cap. And although I just said that it was looking like the blue team, the red team has a 2 cap. And even almost might threaten a 3 cap, so this game looks like it's just actually about to go in favor of Asmon and GuruSkippy after I just called it in favor of HolyHammer and Wurgl. It's definitely, yeah. This is not enough time, and that is the end of the game. Certainly a pretty crazy game in a lot of ways. Fortunately, there were definitely some really cool things that I kind of missed, which is certainly sad about that. There's just so many good things that you just miss, but in any case, I hope you enjoyed the cast. Have a good night.